Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. So, a lot of you are probably here from Waffle's video because over there we were talking about some good things that happened, including Jagmeet Singh and AOC's Among Us stream, where Jagmeet Singh decided to make a surprise announcement that the NDP would be submitting a policy proposal for a publicly owned pharmaceutical lab here in Canada. And I said in that video that I'd talk about that more here in this video, and that's why we're all here. So this is a good thing, but then it begs the question, why didn't we have this in the first place? As with most things, blame the Conservatives. Canada used to be able to manufacture its own vaccines, but the Conservatives decided to kibosh it because guess what? The private market will totally provide, and why make it a public expense when the free market and capitalism will provide, and we save money and it's a lower cost. And so they scrapped our ability to make vaccines here in Canada. And then when the Liberals got into power, they did the typical Liberal thing, which is if people aren't talking about it, why bring it up? And so they were lazy and decided not to bring it back. This is why it's important that people begin to recognize that the NDP actually cares about them and the working class. If it's not going to be on the Liberals' radar or politically advantageous, they're not going to do it. If it's not going to please their sponsors, Liberals aren't going to do it. If it's not going to please their corporate overlords, Conservatives aren't going to do it. The NDP is the only main federal party that cares about the working class. And if you don't believe me, just look at what they've managed to accomplish. They managed to accomplish, over the course of this pandemic, expanded coverage for the CERB and for students, and they were the ones who initially came up with the emergency wage subsidy proposal. They also secured 10 days paid sick leave for all workers, whether you're in the gig economy or not. If you're, an Air Canada worker, if you're a grocery store worker, if, you're a pizza delivery driver, the NDP won workers 10 paid sick days. Not the Liberals, not the Conservatives who are quote unquote for the little guy and the working man, the NDP, Team Orange. This is great for all workers, and that's what they care about. They care about your average Canadian from coast to coast. It just boggles my mind that more people don't see this, and these paid sick days are especially good for gig workers who have been notoriously exploited in the 21st century and the capitalist hellhole we live in now. It's also important because those gig workers decided, at least some of them in Toronto, the Foodora ones, they decided to unionize. And then when Foodora crumbled in response to that and basically abandoned the Canadian market because, if we can't exploit labor, what's the point? Now what those Foodora workers are doing are exploring ways of trying to create a gig worker co-op. These are meaningfully good progressive actions that are happening in our country, and it's not being led by the Liberals or the Conservatives. It's being led by boots on the ground, and their only federal advocate is the NDP. It is so frustrating to see the NDP get win after win for the common man and woman and for the average working Joe and Jane. And yet more people just aren't supporting them and voting for them. They've gotten expanded coverage for people during this pandemic. They've expanded labor rights and celebrated labor wins. They've secured 10 paid sick days, not because it'll necessarily win them more votes. As we're seeing, it's not like NDP numbers have terribly gone up. They did this and they proposed this policy because it's the right thing to do. And yet still, more Canadians don't support this policy and this party. More Canadians aren't recognizing the work that the NDP has put in over this past year and the support that they're trying to show to them and to natives, and to all Canadians regardless of our religion or our skin color or our background. I'm tired of it. I really am. I wish more people would start voting NDP, especially now that we've seen the true colors of the Liberals, not supporting people and not wanting to support actual Liberal policies, and it had to be the NDP dragging the Liberals to do the right thing, and the Liberals voting against a wealth tax and against electoral reform, even though these are things that a vast majority of Canadians want. The Liberals have gone mask off, and it's also very clear to anyone who's paying attention that the Conservatives don't care about the little guy or the working class. Only the NDP does. And the fact that more of us aren't recognizing this and starting to show the NDP numbers surge and just completely supplant Team Red and Team Blue is definitely what's bothering me today.